Ma'am, step away from the desk now.
I'm sorry, what? I'm with the patient.
Step back, now.
I work here. I'm reviewing a chart.
Possible suspect located. Need confirmation.
What is going on?
Just a mistake. I'm the attending surgeon. Don't move.
I am not
Taser!
resisting
Taser!
force on the... Oh, God.
Jesus.
Officer Oliver Koch, badge number 2847 of the Seattle Police Department, made the worst decision of his 15-year career when he walked into Kindred Hospital Seattle, First Hill, and saw a black woman in scrubs holding patient charts. He decided she matched a burglary suspect description. He approached the hospital reception desk with his hand near his weapon, and when Dr. Amanda Queen, a decorated cardiothoracic surgeon with 12 years of experience and the youngest department head in the hospital's history, calmly explained she was the attending surgeon on duty. Koch refused to verify her credentials, with hospital administration standing right there. When Dr. Queen turned to check on her critical post-operative patient, whose heart monitor was beginning to alarm, Koch interpreted this as fleeing and deployed his taser, sending 50,000 volts through the doctor's body just feet from her patient's hospital bed. What Koch didn't know was that his partner's body camera had captured every second in crystal clear HD with perfect audio. That hospital security cameras from 4 different angles had recorded the entire assault. That this footage would go viral within 48 hours. And that his moment of racial bias would lead to a $12.8 million lawsuit, FBI investigation, and criminal charges that would expose a 15-year pattern of discrimination the Seattle PD had systematically covered up. Before we go further, what city or country are you watching from? Drop it in the comments. We love seeing where you're tuning in from. If you believe no surgeon should be tasered in their own hospital for simply doing their job, then make sure you like this video and subscribe. Dr. Amanda Queen had spent her entire Friday night and Saturday morning doing what she had trained for over a decade to do: save lives. At 38 years old, after 12 years of grueling residencies, fellowships, and proving herself in a field still dominated by men, she had become the youngest person ever to head the cardiothoracic surgery department at Kindred Hospital Seattle. The emergency call had come in at 3:47 a.m. A 62-year-old grandfather named Robert Chen was coding in the ER. Massive heart attack, 3 blocked arteries, minutes away from death. Dr. Queen had rushed to the hospital, still wearing her pajamas under her scrubs, assembled her team, and by 4:15 a.m. had Mr. Chen on the operating table, fighting for every second of his life. The surgery lasted 3 hours and 36 minutes. Dr. Queen's hands moved with practiced precision: bypass grafts, careful suturing, constant monitoring of vitals. Her team worked in synchronized silence, and by 7:23 a.m., she was closing Mr. Chen's chest cavity, exhausted but triumphant. The heart that had stopped beating was now pumping steadily. The grandfather who had coded in the ER would live to see his grandchildren grow up. Dr. Queen had stayed with Mr. Chen through his transfer to the surgical recovery wing, monitoring every vital sign, adjusting medications, checking and rechecking that everything was stable. By 10 a.m., she had been awake for over 30 hours, but she felt that familiar satisfaction that came with knowing she had done her job perfectly. Mr. Chen was alive. 3 other post-op patients on her rounds were stable. The surgical recovery wing was calm, quiet, exactly as it should be on a Saturday morning. She wore navy blue scrubs that the burglary suspect description would later call dark clothing. Her white coat was embroidered with Dr. Amanda Queen, cardiothoracic surgery, in clear lettering across the chest. Her hospital ID badge hung on a lanyard around her neck, complete with her photo, name, title, and department. Her stethoscope draped across her shoulders. Patient charts filled her hands as she stood at the nurse's station, reviewing medication orders with the charge nurse. Around 10:15 a.m., Dr. Queen finished updating Mr. Chen's charts and was discussing post-operative care protocols with Dr. Stephen Walsh, a white male cardiologist who had consulted on the case, when she noticed 2 police officers walking purposefully down the hallway toward the recovery wing. She felt a flicker of confusion. Police occasionally came to the hospital for witness statements or to guard suspects receiving treatment, but they usually checked in with security first. These officers hadn't stopped at the nurse's station. They were heading straight into patient care areas with tense, aggressive postures. Officer Oliver Koch's personnel file told a story that Seattle PD, Internal Affairs, had spent 15 years refusing to read. Complaint number 2011-0847. Racial profiling during a traffic stop in Capitol Hill. Finding: inconclusive. Complaint number 2013-1243. Excessive force used against a black teenager accused of shoplifting. Witnesses claimed Koch used racial slurs. Finding: unsustained. Complaint number 2015-0392. Illegal search of a black family's vehicle based on suspicious behavior that turned out to be a father helping his daughter move into her college dorm. Finding: officer acted with indiscretion. 8 complaints over 15 years. 8 times the system had looked the other way. 8 times Koch's badge had protected him from consequences that would have ended any civilian's career. His supervisors called him old school and a bit rough around the edges. His partners learned quickly to keep their mouths shut or request transfers. Officer Laura Andrew, 26 years old and barely 2 years out of the academy, rode shotgun in Patrol Unit 2-847 that Saturday morning. She'd requested a different partner 3 times. Each request had been denied. "Koch's a good training officer," her sergeant had told her. "You'll learn a lot from him." What she'd learned was how to stomach casual racism disguised as street smarts, and how to stare out the window while her partner made comments about those people and the wrong element moving into nice neighborhoods. At 10:08 a.m., dispatch crackled through the radio. "All units, possible 1031 in progress near Kindred Hospital Seattle. Witness reports black female, approximately 5'6", dark clothing, acting suspiciously near the medical plaza. Last seen entering hospital grounds. Approach with caution." Laura watched Koch's entire demeanor shift. His eyes brightened with that predatory focus she'd come to recognize and dread. His hand moved instinctively to check his weapon. "Finally," he muttered, pulling a hard U-turn toward the hospital. "Been a slow morning. Let's see what we got here." Laura's stomach tightened. She'd seen this before. The eagerness, the assumption of guilt, the way Koch seemed to relish these calls when the suspect description included certain details. She reached for her body camera, making sure it was positioned correctly. Something told her she might need the footage later, though she couldn't have known just how prophetic that instinct would prove to be. Dr. Queen stood at the nurse's station, reviewing Mr. Chen's post-operative medications, her white coat sleeves pushed up to her elbows, her stethoscope draped across her shoulders. The embroidery on her chest read clearly, "Dr. Amanda Queen, cardiothoracic surgery." Her hospital ID badge hung on a bright blue lanyard, her photo and credentials visible to anyone who bothered to look. She was discussing discharge protocols with Dr. Stephen Walsh, a white male cardiologist who'd consulted on Mr. Chen's case, when she noticed 2 police officers entering the recovery wing. They hadn't stopped at security, hadn't checked in with the charge nurse. They walked with purpose, scanning the area like hunters tracking prey. The male officer, stocky, mid-40s, with cold eyes, swept his gaze across the wing and locked onto Dr. Queen with immediate, unwavering focus. He ignored Dr. Walsh, standing inches away from her, ignored the nurses clustered around the station, ignored every other person in the recovery wing who could have fit a vague suspect description. His hand moved toward his duty belt. His posture tensed. He walked directly toward her with aggressive intent that made Dr. Queen's stomach drop. She'd experienced microaggressions throughout her career, colleagues assuming she was a nurse, patients requesting a real doctor, security guards questioning her credentials in her own hospital. But this felt different, more dangerous. The officer's body language screamed threat, and she couldn't understand why. "Ma'am, I need you to step away from that desk and show me your hands," Koch commanded, his voice sharp and authoritative. He positioned himself between Dr. Queen and the patient charts, completely ignoring Dr. Walsh, who stood frozen in confusion. Dr. Queen blinked, genuinely bewildered. "Excuse me? I'm Dr. Queen. I'm the attending surgeon here. Is there a problem with one of my patients?" She gestured toward her white coat, her badge, the charts in her hands filled with medical orders bearing her signature. Coke's eyes narrowed with something that looked disturbingly like satisfaction. "I said, show me your hands. Now." Dr. Queen slowly raised her hands, patient charts still gripped in her fingers, confusion shifting into something sharper, a recognition born from years of navigating a world that questioned her belonging in elite spaces. "Officer, I'm not sure what this is about, but I'm the cardiothoracic surgeon on duty. This is my hospital ID." She gestured to the badge hanging clearly around her neck. "And these are my patient charts. I've been working here for 12 years. Coke stepped closer, invading her space. "ID could be stolen. Coat could be stolen. Step away from that desk and put down whatever you're holding." "Stolen?" Dr. Queen's voice remained calm, but her eyes flashed with disbelief. "Officer, you can verify my identity with hospital administration. The security office is down the hall. My credentials are—" "I don't need to verify anything," Coke snapped. "I'm telling you to comply." Jennifer Martinez, the charge nurse who'd worked alongside Dr. Queen for 7 years, stepped forward. "Officer, there's been a mistake. Dr. Queen is our head of cardiothoracic surgery. She just completed a successful bypass surgery this morning. She's exactly where she's supposed to be." Coke wheeled on her. "Ma'am, step back. This is police business." "Police business?" Jennifer's voice rose. "She's wearing a white coat with her name embroidered on it. Her ID badge is right there. What exactly—" "I said step back, or I'll arrest you for obstruction." Coke's hand moved to his handcuffs, his face flushing red with anger. Dr. Walsh finally found his voice. "This is absurd. I'm Dr. Stephen Walsh. This woman is my colleague. She's one of the finest surgeons in Seattle. You need to—" "One more word and you're all under arrest," Coke barked. Behind him, Officer Laura Andrews stood frozen, her face pale, her hand trembling near her service weapon. Her body camera recorded everything: the embroidered white coat, the clearly visible hospital ID, the patient charts, the growing crowd of hospital staff trying desperately to prevent a catastrophe they could all see coming. She opened her mouth to speak, but no words came. Fear and self-preservation locked her jaw shut, even as her conscience screamed that this was wrong. Dr. Queen carefully set down the patient charts and reached for her phone, moving slowly and deliberately to avoid any action that might be misinterpreted. "Officer, I'm going to show you my medical license. I have it on my phone in the state registry app." She pulled up the Washington State Medical Commission database, her own profile filling the screen, her photo, her license number, her credentials, her specialty, all official and verified. Coke barely glanced at it. Anyone can fake a website. "It's not a website. It's the state medical registry," Dr. Queen said, her professional composure beginning to crack. "Officer, my patient, Mr. Chen in room 304, just had emergency bypass surgery. He's critical. I need to monitor him. Please just call hospital security. They can verify everything in 2 minutes." "I don't need to call anyone. I'm conducting an investigation." "An investigation of what?" Dr. Queen's voice sharpened with frustration. "I'm standing in my own hospital, wearing my credentials, doing my job. What exactly am I being investigated for?" Coke's face reddened. He'd been questioned, contradicted, challenged. By her, by the nurses, by the other doctor. His authority had been disrespected in front of witnesses, and his ego couldn't tolerate it. "You match the description of a burglary suspect. You're in an area where you're acting suspiciously." "Suspiciously? I'm reviewing patient charts at a nurse's station." "Your attitude is making this worse," Coke snarled, stepping even closer. "You need to calm down and cooperate, or this is going to escalate." "My attitude?" Dr. Queen stared at him in disbelief. "Officer, I've been nothing but professional. I've offered multiple ways to verify my identity. I've explained that I have a critical patient who needs—" Coke grabbed her arm, his fingers digging into her bicep. "That's it. You're coming with me for questioning." Dr. Queen pulled her arm away instinctively, her surgical training kicking in. Never let anyone compromise your hands. Protect them at all costs. "Don't touch me. You have no legal grounds to detain me. I haven't committed any crime. I'm a surgeon caring for post-operative patients in my own hospital." The moment she pulled away, Coke's expression shifted into something triumphant and dark. Resisting, he said, reaching for his taser. You're resisting lawful detention. I'm not resisting anything, Dr. Queen said, but she could hear her voice rising with panic now. Around her, nurses gasped. Dr. Walsh shouted something. Behind Coke, Officer Andrews' face had gone white as paper, her body camera capturing every second as her training officer crossed a line from which there would be no return. Dr. Queen took a step backward toward Mr. Chen's room. Her patient's monitor had started beeping irregularly. Stress-induced arrhythmia, her mind diagnosed automatically. She'd spent 3 hours saving that man's life, and he needed her now. She turned toward the room. Coke saw her movement as flight. His hand closed around the taser grip. Stop right there. But Dr. Queen didn't stop. Her patient came first. She always had. The monitor's irregular beeping cut through the chaos like an alarm bell only Dr. Queen's trained ears could fully interpret. Mr. Chen's heart was showing signs of stress, premature ventricular contractions, the kind of arrhythmia that could spiral into something fatal in a post-operative bypass patient. Her medical instincts overrode everything else. She turned toward room 304, her mind already calculating medications, interventions, the precise steps needed to stabilize her patient. Stop! I said stop! Coke's voice cracked with rage. Dr. Queen kept walking. 3 steps toward the room. Mr. Chen needed her. The grandfather who'd coded just hours ago, whose chest she'd opened, whose dying heart she'd coaxed back to life. He was crashing, and she was the only one who could. Oliver, wait. Laura Andrews' voice finally broke through, urgent and desperate. The electric crackle came before Dr. Queen could process the warning. 50,000 volts slammed into her back between her shoulder blades. Her body went rigid, every muscle contracting simultaneously in violent spasm. Her patient charts flew from her hands. Her legs buckled. The stethoscope around her neck whipped forward as she fell. She crashed to the floor face first, her head missing the corner of a metal medication cart by inches. The impact drove the air from her lungs. Her body convulsed, muscles jerking uncontrollably, her white coat twisted around her torso. The embroidered letters Dr. Amanda Queen, cardiothoracic surgery, pressed against the cold linoleum as she gasped for breath. Mr. Chen's monitor shrieked a sustained alarm. Code Blue protocol activated automatically. The recovery wing exploded into chaos. Nurses screamed. Jennifer Martinez dropped to her knees beside Dr. Queen, checking her pulse, her pupils, trained hands searching for injuries. Dr. Walsh sprinted toward Mr. Chen's room, shouting orders for crash cart medications. Other staff members rushed from nearby stations, their faces shocked and horrified. And through it all, Officer Oliver Coke stood over Dr. Queen's convulsing body, taser still in hand, his face flushed with adrenaline and vindication, completely unaware that his partner's body camera had just recorded his career's end. Heavy footsteps pounded down the hallway as hospital security burst into the recovery wing, followed closely by Helen Stracta, the hospital director, her face pale with alarm. 2 security guards immediately moved toward Dr. Queen, now being tended to by 3 nurses who had rolled her into recovery position, checking her vitals and assessing for injuries. What the hell happened here? Stracta demanded, her voice cutting through the chaos. Coke holstered his taser, his posture shifting into the rehearsed stance of a cop delivering an incident report. Ma'am, we received a call about a burglary suspect matching this individual's description. She was acting suspiciously, refused to provide proper identification, became verbally aggressive, and attempted to flee. I was forced to deploy my taser to prevent— That's Dr. Queen, Stracta interrupted, her voice trembling with fury and disbelief. That's our head of cardiothoracic surgery. Laura Andrews stood frozen several feet away, staring at Dr. Queen's crumpled form on the floor. The white coat had twisted during the fall, and now the embroidered lettering faced upward, impossible to miss. Dr. Amanda Queen, cardiothoracic surgery. The hospital ID badge lay beside her, the photo and credentials clearly visible. Patient charts scattered around her body, each one stamped with official hospital headers and bearing Dr. Queen's signature and medical license number. Laura's hands began to shake. She'd watched the entire confrontation, seen the ID badge, heard the nurses explaining, witnessed the white coat, the stethoscope, the patient charts. She'd known. Deep down she'd known from the beginning that Oliver was wrong, but fear had kept her silent. "Oliver," she whispered, her voice barely audible. "She really is a doctor." Coke's head snapped toward her, his eyes blazing with warning. "Shut up, Andrew." Stracta stepped between them, her professional composure barely containing her rage. "I want your supervisor here immediately. And both of you don't move, don't touch anything, and don't say another word." Lieutenant Sarah Martinez arrived 23 minutes later, her uniform crisp, her expression unreadable. She spent the first 10 minutes talking to witnesses, nurses who'd watched the entire confrontation, Dr. Walsh who'd tried to intervene, security guards who'd seen the aftermath. Then she sat with Helen Stracta in a nearby conference room, reviewing Dr. Queen's credentials, her 12-year employment history, her spotless record, her position as department head. When Martinez finally approached Dr. Queen, the surgeon was sitting on a gurney in an exam room, being treated by her own colleagues. An ice pack pressed against the bruise forming on her shoulder. Her vitals were being monitored. Her hands trembled uncontrollably, aftershocks from the electrical current and the adrenaline crash. The humiliation on her face was almost worse than the physical injuries. "Dr. Queen, I'm Lieutenant Martinez. I need to understand exactly what happened here." Her voice was professional but not unkind. Dr. Queen recounted the encounter, her voice hollow with trauma and disbelief. The immediate suspicion, the refusal to verify her credentials, the escalation. The moment she'd turned to check on her critical patient and felt 50,000 volts slam into her spine. Martinez took notes, her jaw tightening with each detail. Then she walked back to where Coke and Andrew stood in the hallway, both officers now separated and silent. "Officer Andrew," Martinez said quietly, her eyes fixed on the younger officer's pale face. "Was your body camera activated during this encounter?" Laura Andrews' face crumpled. Tears streamed down her cheeks as she nodded. "Yes, ma'am," she whispered. "The whole thing. Everything." The blood drained from Oliver Coke's face. His mouth opened, then closed. His hands began to shake as the full weight of his mistake, caught in high-definition video with perfect audio, crashed down on him like a tidal wave he could never escape. Lieutenant Martinez watched the body cam footage in Helen Stracta's office, her expression growing darker with each passing minute. The video was damning in its clarity. Dr. Queen's clearly visible credentials, the embroidered white coat, the hospital ID badge, the patient charts. Coke's aggressive approach, his dismissal of every piece of evidence, the nurses explaining, Dr. Walsh protesting, Dr. Queen's calm attempts at de-escalation, then the turn toward her patient's room, the shouted warning, and the sickening crackle of the taser deployment. But the most devastating evidence came from the audio recorded 17 minutes after the assault, as Coke and Andrew walked back toward their patrol car, before hospital administration had confirmed Dr. Queen's identity to them. Laura's body cam had still been recording. Coke's voice came through clearly. "Did you see her attitude? People like that don't become doctors. I don't care what some fake badge says. She was probably a janitor trying to steal drugs or something. You watch, we'll find out she's got warrants." Laura's quiet response. "Oliver, what if she really is?" "She's not, trust me. I can spot them. It's instinct." Martinez stopped the playback. Her hands were shaking with rage. She walked back into the hallway where Coke stood, still believing he could control the narrative. "Officer Oliver Coke, you're under arrest for assault, deprivation of rights under color of law, and filing a false police report." Within 36 hours, the body cam footage had gone viral. 6 million views, then 20 million. News outlets across the country picked up the story. Black surgeon tasered in her own hospital. The phrase, "people like that don't become doctors," became a rallying cry for activists demanding police reform. Dr. Queen's attorneys filed a $12.8 million lawsuit against Coke, the Seattle Police Department in the city. The discovery process unearthed what internal affairs had spent 15 years burying, 47 similar incidents in Coke's career, a systematic pattern of racial profiling that had been documented, complained about, and deliberately ignored by supervisors who valued loyalty over justice. The FBI opened a civil rights investigation into the Seattle PD's handling of discrimination complaints. 4 senior supervisors were forced to resign. Laura Andrew, granted immunity for her testimony, became the key witness against her former partner. 9 months later, Dr. Amanda Queen sat before Congress, testifying about racial profiling and policing. Her voice was steady, her presence commanding. She'd transformed her trauma into purpose, becoming an advocate for reforms that would prevent other professionals, other human beings, from experiencing the humiliation and violence she'd endured. Oliver Koch was sentenced to 6 years in federal prison for deprivation of rights under color of law. His pension was revoked. His family lost their home to bankruptcy from the lawsuit judgment. And somewhere in the archives of the Seattle Police Department, 8 previous complaints against Officer Koch sat as monuments to a system that had protected a racist until a body camera finally made the truth impossible to ignore.